Hi, and welcome to Chief for Yourself. Glad you could be with us today, wherever you are in the world. Chief for Yourself is intended to assist you in your walk along the path of consciousness. Our guest on this show is Annemiek Douw. She is a management coach, light worker, medium, energetic therapist, trainer, and author. Her personal experience with long-term illness, combined with her own work as a healer, have led her to understand how the soul is an internal compass that continuously guides us. Annemiek Douw is the author of 21 Layers of the Soul, Healing the Karmic Ties with Friends, Lovers, Family, and Enemies. She joins us via Skype from her home in the Netherlands. Annemiek, first of all, am I saying that correctly, Annemiek?
Yes, perfect.
Okay, good. Yeah, I'm going to start off with your work as a light worker. Talk about how you help people working as a light worker.
Well, I work as a paranormal therapist / medium. That was the original version. But when I worked like that, my guides told me, well, in fact, you are a light worker because light workers are the people that help others grow into their new being for the new age. So it has to do with working with light instead of energy. Mm-hmm. And it's just well, it's not more than a phrase, but it's like an evolution of the word of the work of a medium, I think.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You have a background actually in engineering. How is it that you moved from engineering into the area of human development?
Yes, it really sounds strange, I think, if you don't know me and if you don't know the path I walked. I first started out as an engineer. I first wanted to become a scientific journalist because I liked writing and I liked engineering and all the technical stuff. I really liked to find out how things work. And in Dutch, I was very good in explaining things in a simple way so people could understand it. So that's why I went to the university and got my degree in engineering. And then I started to work, and at 29 I discovered that I was paranormal. And that was really a big shock because I only believed in things that I could touch and feel and see for myself. And suddenly I saw and felt other things. And because I always thought if I can see it, it's real, I suddenly started to become, I saw auras and I thought, what? And no one else saw them, so at first I thought I was a bit silly, a bit crazy. And then I realized, no, you're just adjusting to another frequency. So I got another degree in paranormal therapy, and I first tried to, keep that still. I didn't want people to know that because I had my own practice, and I didn't want people to know that I was paranormal because, in my opinion, and in my old world, the people I attracted then didn't understand it or would think things of it, and I thought I would lose my good name. So, in the beginning, I just didn't mention it, but because it really was something I had to do with my life, things came together. So when I was doing a management job in The Hague at a ministry, I was sitting during lunch as one of the people I was helping with a project started to talk about auras. So I kept my mouth shut, and I thought, no, don't say anything. But he did that 3 times during the day. And the third time I thought, Annemiek, if you don't say it now, you never can speak about it here again. So I said, yes, I do see auras. And then everyone said, what? And what did you see? And what does it feel? And what does it mean? And everyone was interested. And then they said to me, well, you're so normal, so grounded. If you say it's true, then it must be true. And I was looking at, what? Okay. So that made me less hesitant to talk about it. And, because I'm really paranormal, that became the core of my business. So I became a healer and did nothing else than heal because that was necessary for the people I attracted.
Mm-hmm. Is there paranormal in your family? How did they react to this?
That's a real good question. Well, to be honest, I have 2 sisters and they haven't read my book. My father, I don't know because I haven't been in contact with him since a couple of years. My mother really likes it. My stepfather really, it's like a priest who is sharing my book to everyone who wants to know and doesn't want to know. My stepfamily really likes the book and my work. So it's a bit difficult because relatives can be very negative because they know you in a certain way, and if you start changing, and I changed a lot, then you aren't the person you used to be. So it's a bit uneasy for them sometimes, because if one changes, the other one has to change as well. Otherwise, the system doesn't work anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So my family, well, it's mixed in their reactions, but my friends and everyone is well, they are very positive. So I'm happy that I'm me and that I do the things I do. But it would be, of course, I would have liked it if my sisters had read my book, of course.
Yeah. All you can do is love them and let them go. I mean, if they're going to be that way, you can't push them.
I know, and well, if I don't want to read a book, I don't read a book.
Mm-hmm.
So I understand that they don't want to read a book, but it would have been fun just to share it with them.
True, true. Let's talk about the book, The 21 Layers of the Soul. Talk about those layers. What are they? How do they show up in our lives?
Well, first of all, when I became a paranormal therapist, I learned that there were 7 layers of the aura. So your aura is comprised of 7 layers, and each layer has its own theme. So the first layer is your physical body, then you have the emotional layer, then the rational ones, all your thoughts and thinking mechanisms are in that. So every layer had its system. And when I worked as a paranormal therapist, after a couple of years, I became ill, seriously ill, for 3.5 years. And during that process, I really changed. I changed from engineer to paranormal therapist. And during those 3.5 years, I changed into medium because I could read more subtle energies. So I could communicate with angels, to deceased. I could understand my guides. I didn't listen to them before because I was a bit stubborn. And after I had been ill, I started working again. And then I realized that there were more layers than 7. And since I am an engineer and I really like to understand how things work, I thought, well, if there's a system in the first 7 layers, there has to be a system in the other ones as well. So why not try to find out what the system is? So for years I worked in the layers and wrote everything down that I did with my clients. And after a couple of years, I was able to draw conclusions and to describe what the layers were, and described it with cases so people could understand it. And that became my book.
Mm-hmm. Now, obviously, you're very sensitive to energies. Do you maintain contact with those who've passed on to the other side?
Yes, during my work I do, yes.
No, yeah. Have you learned anything about the afterlife that people might be surprised to know?
Well, to be honest, in my work I mostly meet people who talk about their lives on Earth and how you can change the way you go about it here. Mm-hmm. So I'm not an expert in what happens exactly when people have passed over, except when they stay earthbound and you can help them to the night. But to me, the biggest surprise every time when I speak to someone who has passed over is that the personal jealousies, emotions, things like that are completely gone, and they're so neutral and loving. And you can feel the energy of the person that he was before, but the soul is it's a different energy, and it's still, in a way, the person that he was before. And that's really strange to feel. And since most of them I don't know before, I haven't met before they passed over. Mm-hmm. So when I describe them to their loved ones here in my practice, they feel the energy too. So you can almost feel the person here in the room and then start to talk about what he's saying. And all the people that passed over are loving to the ones who are still here. And I think that's a good thing, because sometimes people die with arguments between them, and that's not necessary. So you don't have to have any regrets if someone passed over without discussing and settling it.
So when people pass, they'll take family issues with them?
Yes, and the great thing is that if you go to the aura layers, which represent the layers of the soul, because what you come to do in life, you can find back in the aura layers. So when you incarnate, you make a plan and you go to Earth and you make agreements, you make plans. I want to do this, I want to experience that. So you need people to help you with that. So you make agreements with other souls, and a lot of them are relatives or become relatives when you are incarnated. So if those people pass, they can help you from above, but still know what the intention was of the agreement.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So there is some sort of a plan or a map for our lives that's laid out ahead of time.
Well, I think there is. I think there's a blueprint for your life, and the major events are planned by yourself.
Hmm.
And that's sometimes difficult to comprehend if it comes to really horrible things. And it's much easier to comprehend if you say, well, I've planned this one like a vacation. That's great if you planned it for yourself, but if you plan to become ill, well, that's less attractive, I guess.
Yeah.
But yes, in my work, I come across all kinds of things that are a direct result of the plans you made as a soul. Only since when we incarnate, we don't remember the plan anymore. It's difficult to come across all those experiences and not feeling horrible about it. It's difficult if you don't know the real reason, sometimes.
Mm-hmm. So people really have a genuine life to live, but I'm sure you see a lot of resistance to that. People will be afraid. There's fear. There's culture. There are things that get us away from the genuine life. How do you handle that when someone is not living the way they were really meant to live?
And do you mean how I handle it?
What is your do you advise, or do you just let people see what they're supposed to see? I mean, can you tell them, you're on this track and you're denying it, or you're resisting? Do you go that far?
Yes, of course, because they come to me for help, and I have to decide how I help them the best.
Right.
Sometimes I don't say a thing, and I'm just working with aura. So the energy starts floating again, so they can heal themselves. And sometimes I have to give words to certain habits, certain thoughts, because otherwise they don't understand the mechanism. And then it's a case of being very gentle and to choose your words very carefully and loving with compassion, and then I can say almost anything.
We make agreements with others before we're born. Yeah. You call them soul agreements.
Yes.
Does that carry over from another life? Is it kind of like I don't know? I guess a reincarnation is what I'm thinking of.
Well, sometimes it is, because you find certain persons reincarnate in families over and over again. So it's like a group reincarnating every time. Let's say 5 times in a row, or with some space in between. But it's more like before you incarnate, you choose a group of souls who are going to help you. And you decide, okay, you are going to be my father, you are going to be my mother, you are going to be my evil sister. I don't know. You make agreements, and then you meet them when you are on Earth. So that's, to put it in a simple way, that's how it works.
Some interesting points too, and that can be helped by the 21 layers. In the book, you say some people cannot stop cheating on their spouse. Is that? Or do you see that?
Yes, it was, to me, that was a big eye opener, because I had a client and he met a woman. He was happily married, had 2 children, and then he met a woman. And, well, he had an affair with her, and he said to me, well, I didn't even like her, and still, he felt bound to her. And the first time I heard him speak, I was smiling, because it was so funny to hear him say, I really didn't like her. And I said, well, you had an affair. Yes, but I didn't like her. So that was a bit strange. And then I found out that in a certain layer, on a very high level, he had an agreement with her that was made in a previous life. They had become lovers then. And they told each other, okay, next time, if you're not on the track that your soul chooses, that if you're not behaving the way you should do, if you don't do the things you need to do in the next life, we meet, we will have the affair, we connect, and when we connect, you will start to feel again what your soul purpose is. So that was the reason he felt drawn to her. But yeah, well, to us humans, it looked like he just had an affair.
Yeah.
Without a reasonable excuse. So that was really, and so he went home to his wife. Yes, well, I can't help. No, he didn't. But people could use it as an excuse. Yes, it is a previous life. I can't help myself. Yes, that happens quite rarely, but it does happen.
And there's really no good way to break that to your partner. I mean, there's just no way.
No, there isn't. No, there isn't. But sometimes, well, perhaps you know the feeling that you meet someone and you think, oh, I really like you, without the real reason, just the feeling. And sometimes you really dislike someone without any reason. And very often that's because of the previous life that you met the soul before, and perhaps he murdered you or something, and that's a reason not to like someone. But if it's a previous life, you shouldn't do too much about it, because then it's a previous life. It's not now.
Yeah. To switch to something very, very sad here, and not to make an abrupt change, but the problem of children dying in infancy, I'm sure you see that in your work.
Yes.
Do you have a way of, can you explain that to somebody, or do you try to make that clear for people? How do you handle that?
Well, this is something I talked about a lot with a good girl, one of my best friends. She's a nurse on where the children who are born prematurely are helped in the hospital. And sometimes she sees them die, and she has big problems with that. And I can understand that, because it's really sad to see such a small person leave already. She says, well, they haven't even begun living yet, and still their life is over. And I think this has two sides. Of course, it's real sad, and I don't have children myself. I would have liked to have children, but I don't have them. But I can imagine, slightly can imagine, how it must feel when you lose a child. So that's grief. And sometimes that's part of your lifetime, and sometimes it isn't. And I think that when it's part of a baby's life plan to just come for a short visit, parents have, well, less trouble. It is, I don't know how to put this in the right way, in the right words, but what I found out a couple of weeks ago is that a man died. He was 36, and his parents said he died in a car crash, and his parents were calm with it within a week. They said, well, we always felt like he would die very, very young.
Oh.
So, of course, we miss him, but in a way, it's okay. We feel that it's the right thing that happened. And then I realized if something happens according to your life plan, it's easier to cope with it than if it's really an accident or it shouldn't have happened.
But yet you say that some people, through the death of a loved one, can become ill. Is that a case of resistance to what is happening?
I don't know if it's resistance. If you're breathing really, really deeply, it does something to all your cells. So if you talk about chi, it doesn't flow in your body anymore. So the part of you that's vulnerable to that may become ill. I think that becoming ill and connecting that to resistance is a bit too easy, because then it's like you say, well, if someone's ill, you did something wrong. Well, I, for myself, found out that if you really get ill, it could be a choice of your soul for your life path. So it's more like people go through experiences and grow as a soul from that. And I don't really have an opinion of, did they do something wrong? Was it really the intention for them? Just do with the experiences what you do with it, and find out if that was the plan later, because it doesn't matter. When you are a human, you are here on Earth, and you have to do it. You have to deal with the cards you are given.
Well, I can imagine that people will come to you to talk about their love lives and why maybe there is not someone in their life. Can you
Yes.
open up some discoveries to those people and tell them why that's the case?
Yes, sometimes I can. Sometimes I even can predict when a newly loved one will arrive. But there's always the matter of free will, so someone can choose to go the other direction, and then the new lover doesn't show up. But I was thinking of an example. Oh yes, I once worked with someone who had this was also a previous life story. I'm sorry. She was married in an earlier life in China to a man who died very soon, very young. And then her brother said, "Okay, I will take care of you. You don't need a man anymore. I will provide for you." So in a way, she was occupied. She was already taken, and that notion she took with her to this life. So when she met a man, didn't feel like she was free to commit. So on an energetical level, she couldn't commit because she still felt like she was already taken.
Mm-hmm.
And then I worked on that blockage in her aura, and then her energy changed, and then the attraction of her to men changed, and then she could attract the right partner.
I see. Wow.
Sometimes it's also it's also about not feeling worthy or something. So then it's in another layer, and I work on that. So I just hear what the story is, find out where the core of the problem is, and I work on that.
Speaking of energy and energy flow, I personally, I see serious illnesses like cancer, for instance, as an energy problem, a blockage. Cancer, maybe a disease of resentment. Do you agree with that? Do you think that that is really what's behind a serious illness like cancer?
Sorry, can you repeat the last part? Do you think cancer is really a case of resentment?
Yeah, that cancer, people who hold grudges and the resentments and things like that, of course, it can cause the energy imbalance. Is that a trigger for cancer? I mean, because no one knows, or at least doctors don't know, why we get cancer, but yet it seems that the energy imbalances could touch off a case of cancer. Does that sound logical?
Yes, to me it does. I have to think about it, but to me it does. Since if you're really balanced and your energy flows, you probably will not create cancer in your life. Unless, of course, it's in your life plan, and then it has a different reason. So, but I do agree that certain ways of thinking, ways of feeling, ways of behaving influence your energy and influence the type of diseases you can create.
Right. So the higher, it would follow that the higher vibration, if we use that word, the higher vibration would keep you clear of, should keep you clear of serious illness. I mean, if you're staying in that flow.
Yes, I would have agreed with you, but I became ill myself, so.
Okay.
So I don't know exactly what to do now.
Oh boy, we stumbled onto that one. Okay, well,
no,
there are exceptions.
I do agree with you. But
Okay.
since I know that's if you have it in your lifetime, well, you can be almost an ascended master. But if it's in your lifetime, it's something, a process you wanted to experience. So it will happen. So you will create it.
You have a lot of case histories in the book from your healing work. Are there any that really stand out? Is there one that really the story you love to tell?
Well, the case that was the most important to me as a person was with a woman who I knew I knew her for 5 years, and she had 4 children, of which one had died 29 years ago. That was a son. And she was here, I don't know what the reason was she was here, but her son came to visit, her past son, the deceased son, because she still had trouble with the fact that he died as a baby. He was 6 weeks old, I think, when he passed. And he had a heart failure, and he died of medical error. The nurse had given him way too much medicine, so in fact he was poisoned.
Oh.
And he died because not of his heart disease, but because of the medicines he had been given.
Mm-hmm.
And she talked to him, and she was grieving, of course, still after 29 years. And he was grown up now, stood next to me, was a nice guy, and he was telling me all about what has happened. And somewhere in the conversation, it was one of the first times I channeled with the person next to me, so I was a bit nervous, of course. And then she asked me, or asked him, has he already forgiven the nurse? And I thought that the purpose of the meeting was to get her to accept what had happened. And he said to me, no, I haven't. And I said to him, well, that doesn't help me any much. So I didn't want to say that out loud. So I kept quiet, and he said, no. So I said, I'm sorry, but he says no. And then he said to me, because there's nothing to forgive. She just kept her part of the deal, her part of the agreement.
Oh, wow.
And that was, well, it was the first time that I heard it from the source, being him telling me what he came to experience, why he only lived for 6 weeks, and that what had happened was exactly according to plan.
Oh, wow, very perceptive.
So that's one of my favorite experiences,
very,
because everything came together.
Very perceptive. Wow. We'll talk about the launch now. This is the American launch of the book, because the book is written in Dutch originally. Is that right?
Yes, that's true. It's now out in English, and it's worldwide launch, but I'm mainly focusing on the US now, because I dreamt years ago, when I was still ill, that I was speaking in front of a US audience, talking about something that I really didn't know about, because I didn't know the layers then. And when I wrote my book in Dutch, somewhere in the middle, I suddenly saw that vision again, and I thought, oh, it's about this, I have to translate it. So I wrote the book and translated it, and now it's out in English, so I'm really happy to share it with the rest of the world.
All right, and we can get it at your website. We can find out more information on the book. What is your website?
Well, the easiest one, because I have a Dutch name and it's hard to spell, so we have two. The easiest one is 21layersofthesoul.com, and that's 21 with the number 21.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a button you can click to buy the book, and if you buy the book, you can download a poster for free, and you can subscribe, and I will pick someone out before the end of the year, if you buy the book before the end of this year, and I will do a free Skype session, a healing over, long distance, so you can experience it yourself.
All right, terrific. Well, I'm going to stop right there. If you have no other questions or comments, we'll let it go at that, and we'll say thank you very much again for being with us and taking part of your evening. I know it's a little later for you, and I appreciate you staying up to talk to us. Well, it's not that late, but it is later. It's lunchtime where I am, so it's not a problem. But thanks so much for being with us, and all the best on the book. It sounds great. So thank you, and come back to us again.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, well, come back and talk to us again.
I will be happy to. Thank you.
All right,
Bye.
thanks. Bye-bye. And we'll have a link to Annemiek Douw's website at achieve4yourself.com, and when you're there, make sure you leave your email address in the box provided, and that way you'll be notified through the blog posts about guest scheduling and Achieve for Yourself show notes, which we like to pop in once in a while. You can contact us too if you're watching on the website start page. Click on the box that you see over my shoulder, and you can leave a voice message using your browser. There's no downloads or no phones required. It's very simple. So take advantage of that. Let us know what you like and don't like, what you want to hear more of, because we're always looking for more and interesting guests. That is all we have time for today. Thank you so much for being with us. Be well, and I will talk to you soon.